Today is June 27th, 2025. The time is currently 6:48 p.m. Got a new mic set up. I'm going to troubleshoot it right now to see if my new mic setup, I just put it in a different place. And I really should have troubleshooted it at a different time. I'm going to turn the volume up to 200%, which is a 50% increase from the increase that I did it, to see if that makes it better to listen to at a more normal volume, so you don't have to weirdly turn uh, your volume up to watch these videos. I don't think that did anything. Why did that not do anything? 250. There we go. I'm gonna put it at 30. That might. There we go. Putting us into yellow more. Well, 56. I'm going to hold on. Wait. To turn that monitoring off. 56. One day I met Chifone in the passage which leads into the third Gopta hall. Scornfully he asked me, what, what about the songs of cuckoo and thrush this year from Doris? Had the Mima overcome her trifling ailment? I saw that you searched wildly and long below her breast to find the cause of trouble. Perhaps you found the right spot in the end. I stammer out a sacred Goldondic greeting, report to him that Mima died of grief, despite her visionary powers seeing no salvation for those imprisoned in this hold of death. And then Chifone laughed as though he saw sights that were comic here in Mima's hall. I felt like collapsing in my dumb despair at thought of my lost home in Doris's valleys. But Chifone, impatient, bored by tears, strides on, and I am left there stiff and frozen, remembering the time when 1,000 springs turned to eternal winter in Mima's hall. Is there still any hope of our salvation in Aniara now that she is dead? I search for comfort, look in every corner, but all in vain, as vainly do I test advice and visions too. 57. One day Libidel lay prostrated by the drug she had placed on her tongue. We sang by her grave, while flames leapt to encircle one no longer young. Our shuddering conscience contracted, frost touched in the cynical heavens, and our stainless steel vault was sealed up in the seas where love's splendor had faded. 58. A religion strongly rivaling the cult has grown up in the torment of our darkness. Its adepts worship light as an ideal, and fire, the goddess of their sect, is a pure flame. The girl from Rind was chosen for this role, and the choir bellows like a great wind when she, the singer, whose own sight is gone, appears before the altar clad in light. She chants her hymns about the God of light, and tells how she who once lived on Rind looked into light and saw it with her skin. The vision seared her. This is what it means to feel one's skin scorched by the fire of God. Ecstasy seizes her. No one can clearly hear what she is saying, but a vast choir of voices carries her as on the crest of a wave. Placed among 1,000 lights, the blind saint in fireproof mantle made of silicates, surging towards the barrier of the photophag, pleads with shrill cries for light, more light on Rind. I often wandered towards the hall where this sect met, for its spirit moved me as it did many on our long journey through darkness. 59. A mass repentance is held in the hall of memory, and those of us who feel deeply contrite foregather there, our foreheads strewn with ashes, torturing ourselves with dirges of penitence. Prepare for our doom! The walls of wrath are closing around our fate, the fate we brought upon ourselves. Our punishment is but the mirror reflex of those tortures we invented long ago. When no excuse distorts the picture any longer, the image in the glass itself is Hades, and mirrors scorch you. Best keep your hands off. they reflect what was said and done. Day after day I hear the dreary chanting of hideous songs by these grey fakirs of contrition, and feel revolted, for those who can rival the degradation they thus impose on themselves. For me, a more important question is to find some means of healing Mima's broken spirit, and recreating the celestial membrane ruined by space waves from the darkened Earth. 60. Many an overwrought inmate of the spaceship will listen gladly to the tranquil voice of Aniara's astronomer as he tells the tale of pre-Goldondic days and the Glaceon. He points out how meaningless it is to speak about a cosmic clock of doom, since the rhythm of cosmos follows quite other patterns of time than those we knew on Earth. For generations which should have been punished had already slept 1,000 years in the deserts when space, using the scourge of frozen climate, struck mankind with an ice age. Quietly he explains, with sober illustrations, the course of the most recent glaceon, not like it's not spelled like the Pokemon, when the Gondilder of the 23rd century in the ice climb slithered from his throne. Man was busy just then with the millennium, whose dawn, however, was overcast by wars. He was about to till the earth again when all human plans were suddenly crushed and broken. For the frozen nebula of Golmos met the sun, which started then upon a pilgrimage through Golmos's night, and Golmos's shadow play chilled our world with the moan of glacial winds. The heavy caps spread out across the earth, a circumpolar covering, so great countries were clad in ice many kilometers thick. Not only Arctic snow came moving down, the hexagons of frozen convolutions, but cosmic snow too from the nebulosa, turning winters into aeons. An icy crust concealed the lands of Europe, which, hidden under huge sheets of ice, were bedded down for 16,000 years, deprived of every ray of sunshine. And people in these countries carried their technical skills as far south as possible, making some resistance for a while, then sank frozen into a barbarous coma. So through a period of 12,000 years man was a savage, who, armed with fragmentary memories of technology, waited to see the sun return again, to kindle the woods of nature and realms of culture. Succeeding generations turned the wheels and spun the threads in primitive workshops where they were re-educated for hard living and accustomed to Ice Age conditions. The nebula of cold now passed the sun, yet to humans in pre-Goldondic days it seemed for 15 centuries like a mourning veil, a titanic cloth of coal-black satin which every evening rolled across the heaven, darkening the galaxies with its widow's weeds. In time this dark cloth passed further off, and being, by cosmic standards, small, it lost as it grew more remote its first resemblance to a mourning veil, and hardly more than 11,000 years after the centuries when the sun left Golmos and continued on its way to renewed glory, this somber patch had almost disappeared from the center of a heaven refreshed. By then the ice had melted, and new races tasted the blessing of clear springs in Gond. 61. I invented, with the utmost difficulty, a screen composed of 2 sorts of rays, and found a way of hanging this as if it were out in space some miles from the Goldonda, and towards this space screen then I could send a 3rd sort of ray which transmitted pictures. In this way I contrived to establish the illusion of a wall in space, a kind of frieze stretched out there and made up of pictures of forests and moonlit lakes, mountains and cities. Sometimes I introduced a mighty army of people carrying banners of victory, all to make a seeming wall which could shut out the intolerable void. Later I built up yet another wall, this time on another side, and in between these 2 resplendent walls of dense illusion our spaceship glided, well screened from the immense and gaping gorges which could no longer stare in at us as they'd done for the last 9 years, stinging us like lances, pricking us like needles. But even such tapestries of fantasy need the support of some human will at least, the contribution of some secret dreams from those who only crave but never give us anything but emptiness, a void which must be constantly filled and embellished. And now this emptiness turned against me, pursuing me to dark corners of the ship, threatening my life when I could not explain at once why emptiness remained. I saw then how things are and how they were. No one can hide his inner emptiness. Mima had been smashed against the waves of time, like Humpty Dumpty on his famous wall. No one could mend poor Humpty Dumpty then. Still less have I any chance of mending you. Your emptiness is terrifying indeed. I keep on conjuring, but at bottom I keep on conjuring, but at bottom the effort is hardly worth the trouble, and but you contribute nothing of your souls, and so the pictures faded clean away. We're halfway through. And isn't this gonna? Aren't you so ready for the happy and great ending that this is gonna have?